All right, welcome back, guys. Doing another vlog the day of. I've had no luck with my equipment lately, and I'm just hoping this works. So that's the verse right there with the shorter bass line. Still a couple things to do on this beat. We want to make sure we secure the intro here. I think we're gonna go, let's do... And let's see, where's the string? Gotta take the mixer and turn the speaker off. Right there. Whoops, that's not the speaker, that's the volume. Try to get a third point in there. And then you'll see the whole signal cut out, listen. But we gotta do it for the others too, hold on. If you do any saturation on the low end, I usually don't. You just want to make sure it's not adding to the muddiness. So for the saturator, when you're saturating a bass tone, I like to put a band in the middle, and I like to listen for the point at which the lows and mids separate. And I usually don't put any saturation down in the lows. I mean, you can, but it's gonna give you a muddier sound. And if you're really going for like bass prominence, that's fine. You'd have to probably mix it differently in that case. But I usually take a band and I will split the lows and highs, and I will give the highs plenty of saturation all the way through the top of the signal. If you can find that point where they split apart and you only saturate the high end, you're gonna get a really good sound on that. And that's just my experience, because this is the good thing about Saturn too. It's a multi-band, you know, kind of distortion plugin. But anyway. You don't need much bass. I was talking about this the other day. I don't know if I actually got this on record, but as far as volume for low end stuff, and I'm putting this in my mixing guides, you want to be really attentive to this. Low end stuff is just loud, and it's hard to hear it because the human ear and the human brain pick up lower sounds later. So like a dog whistle is so high that you can't hear it. But if you could hear it, you'd hear it sooner than like a car horn or a human voice right off the bat. Just because of the wavelength. You know, the higher sounds have a shorter wavelength and your ear picks it up quicker. And the same thing for music. If you have high sounds, you'll hear them more prominently in the mix at the same volume as a low sound, just casually listening. But decibel wise, volume wise, like they're still the same. So most people have their low end just blown out, like way too loud. You don't need it that loud, especially the mastering is gonna bring all that perceived loudness up anyway. So I'm always really careful about, well, lately I've been more careful about bass kick volume, and you probably need to turn both down, probably universally. You're probably making them both too loud if I were to have to guess. And the reason that the low end isn't coming through properly for you is because of mixing errors, because you have no pocket between your kick and your bass. You don't have any separation sonically, frequency wise, timing wise. You don't have any separation between your kick drum and your 808. Or, you know, you're making a mistake. You know, yesterday I was on TikTok live and I was telling people, hey, like, this is all I do. I put a Pro Q3 on the bass and I put a Pro Q3 on the kick, and that once you have a Pro Q3 in different channels, they talk to each other if you just go to the analyzer and select the other one. So if I play the bass, that red line there is the kick. And I just take a 1 point on the EQ for the bass, and I right click and I say make dynamic, and I just bring it down exactly where the kick fundamental hits so the bass doesn't get in the way. They can be competing with each other volume wise, but the space, there's a slot at the beginning of the measure for the kick, and then I tuck a little space in, and then the bass is allowed to flourish. And you can't do this without dynamic EQ. You can't do this without good sidechain compression. So if you want to, you know, you can't do it without saturate. You can't do it without a good saturator a lot of the time. So if you want your bass to be blown out and the only way you can hear it is if you make it louder than everything else, that's fine. But if you want a tight, clean bass that you can hear and a tight, clean kick that really comes through, yeah, it's mixing for sure. It's a mixing thing. It's probably still too loud. Like, it's really coming through. Car test is really good for the bass, but also if you get good at mixing with good studio headphones, man, there's a point when I'm mixing, whether I'm EQing or compressing or doing just a volume fader, there's just I don't know if it's just experience, but there's a point I reach where if I'm turning the fader down or turning the fader up, there's just a clicking point in my head where I leave it. And then later on, you know, that could have been a mistake. That could have been an error in judgment. I'll be listening to the master recording in my car and I'll be like, you know what? I didn't bring those hats down enough. I didn't EQ that right. So I don't know. You're not gonna have a perfect perception of your mix every time. You know, if you're aware, you can fix things if you have multiple chances. I don't like this hat. I don't. It's the second hat we've put in. I like it better than the first hat, but we need to blend it better. Maybe I did a compressor. See here with the wetness on this compressor here, the dry wet. Now, I'm not saying you should just use this knob to compensate for every error you hear, whether it's like, say you have volume EQ errors. Consider that there are other things you can do besides this knob. But you can use this knob to lock it in. Listen. Where's the bounce? Where's it bounciest? Right there. Oh, I had this shaker. I don't know. It's kind of just sitting there at the beginning. I'm going to get out of here, guys. Short day. I'm going to turn around and do another one of these because now I'm super behind. Hopefully this worked. Hopefully the screen recording recorded so I can finally get it on with my life and do other things. Going live on TikTok this week. Tune in. Go follow me on TikTok at bravenwillmakeit. And we keep cooking, working on an album, working on all sorts of goodies, videos, mixing guides, free stuff, free mixing guide, free drum kit coming soon. I'll let you guys know. Stay pimpin'. Love you guys. Have a good day.